Welcome to District 91 Division H, the first and only division in District 91 this year to be President distinguished as a Toastmasters division. My name is Venetian Mutusami, Division Director. Thank you for spending an hour today on your personal development. As a way of introduction, could you please put in the chat your name and the name of the Toastmasters club that you're from? That is your name and the name of your Toastmasters club that you are from. Trudy Kuhn, hello from Spec. Yes, Adrian Moore, Speakers of Croydon. Patrick Barron, experienced French, excellent. Ines from Sutton, welcome. Jackie Rosser from Riverside, Paul Beckham, Paul from Beckenham, Paul Andrews. Hello, excellent. That's a way of testing that the technology is working. Well, at the last District 91 Division H Toastmasters Leadership Institute training for club officers, Google My Business was discussed in the Vice President for Public Relations breakout room. And our members told us they wanted more education on Google My Business. District 91 Division H, therefore, is delighted to host a training webinar all about harnessing the power of Google My Business to significantly raise the visibility of your clubs online and attract new members. Google My Business is not just relevant to Toastmasters, it is for anyone who needs to reach out to people online. This webinar is being recorded for training purposes. The training will be facilitated by our speaker, a member of the Speakers of Croydon, a Vice President of Public Relations at the Speakers of Croydon, and a Google certified marketing coach and consultant. During this webinar, he will explain why we should be using Google My Business, guiding us step by step in how to set it up and then how to use it to its best effect. You will get the chance to ask him questions in the chat and get your questions answered. Our chat masters for today are Isla O'Hara, who is the District 91 Division H Public Relations Manager, and myself. I cannot wait for this webinar. So please welcome our Google My Business guru, Naz Haque.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, Venetian. Thank you for your support, Venetian and Isla. And good morning, Toastmasters and guests. Thank you very much for giving us your time today. I hope to be of great service to you. So I'm going to share my screen. And I have a question I would like to pose to you. I want you to consider, why did Google invite me to their USA office for taking photos? One of the awarenesses I wanted you to bring to mind, maybe your experiences, this is, why doesn't social media generate as much leads possibly for your club? And what did I do to get over 100% increase in website inquiries for my Toastmasters club? So, as Venetian has said, I'm the Vice President of Public Relations for Speakers of Croydon. I took on the role as an interim position on behalf of someone else who was unable to continue with it, and I then took it on as a full-time position for the current year. Some of us here, I hope many of us here, are VPPRs. Would you mind sharing in the chat what you find to be the responsibilities of a VPPR for your club? Let's have some feedback there. Showcase the club to the wider community around it. Yes, absolutely. Arnold, get the word out in the world. Yes, absolutely. Radhika, to promote the club. Yes. Trudy, get the message out to potential guests. Yes, thank you for the shares. Gemma, to raise awareness for the club. Yes. Patrick, attract people from social media, advertise the events, follow up on our visitors. Yes. Dan, get new members. Thank you, keep them coming. Build membership, attract new members, sharing what's good about your club to the wider world and promote the Toastmasters opportunity. Yes, you're all right. You're all correct. Market the club online and offline. Yes, okay. Wow, there's a lot of experienced VPPRs here who obviously know their roles and know their job, so well done. Yes, you're all correct on all those counts. And ultimately, everything that we're doing comes down to one thing, which Tovar mentions, to attract new members. Whether you're the VPPR of a club or you're responsible for marketing within a business, ultimately what you want to do is get new people on board, new customers, new clients. And one of the best tools for doing this for me is Google. At the moment, most of us will tend to use this type of tool, social media. And this post was put out a couple of weeks ago on our club Facebook page for Speakers of Croydon. We shared a post, and you can see the engagement there. And this is quite a few days, well, perhaps a month ago now. So I'm sure the stats have improved. But yeah, you can see there was 11 people reached and 1 engagement with that. And typically when something is happening with the club, what I'm seeing most clubs do is put things on social media. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do encourage this activity. This here is some data from the Google My Business for Speakers of Croydon. This data is taken over a 85-day period. And what you'll be able to see is our club listing appeared 318 times on Google search and 168 times on Google Maps. So over a period of 85 days, we had 486 views. 254 people found us on Google, as in actually found our listing and interacted with it. And the phrases they put in, 20 people typed in Toastmasters, number of people typed in public speaking in Croydon, so nothing to do with the brand, just for a specific skill they want to develop, and of course the brand name as well. So under 90 days, 486 views, and to put that in comparison, this was over a 1-day period, should we say, times that by a 30-day period. You can hopefully see some growth in the Facebook engagement there. But this is really, really powerful. So if you're wondering, why am I listening to this gentleman, Naz? What's his background? Here are some of the companies that I've previously consulted for. I used to be in the corporate world, and I left that for, I'd say about a decade ago. I still work with large enterprise clients, but most of my time is working with small to medium businesses. I am a director of 2 companies. One is a marketing agency, and so we simply help businesses to be seen and gain clients through digital media. And the second is a coaching business, which predominantly works with startups, small to medium businesses, and marketing agencies, helping them with business operations, guidance, and of course, with their SEO strategy. As Venetian has kindly said, I'm a Google certified marketeer. So I'm a Google consultant. I am a Google Squared alumni. I have various certifications with Google, and I'm a level 8 Google local guide. Through my business endeavors, in terms of Google marketing, we've been able to achieve over 1,000 position one. So this is not paid, not the natural positions. And I'll expand on that later on, but over 1,000 position one results on Google, page one, position one, over 5,000 overall results on page one. And I train through congruent coaching the top 1% of marketing agencies for Google, the Google Premier Partners. And this work over the last decade has helped clients to make conservatively over £10 million in sales. So hopefully that has earned some credibility to get your attention and trust. So going back to the question of why did Google invite me to their USA office? Well, Google's revenue in 2020 was $181.7 billion, as you can see there, and the links are available as well. And 92.96% of all traffic comes from Google. That's from 2018. But the interesting stat is taken in 2016. Google already knew then 30% of all search is local search. People are typing in queries for local businesses and services. And what I was doing, I was taking photos, and at that stage in 2018, 2 years later, my photos had amassed 1 million views. I was contributing to their engine, which is helping to build traffic, which is helping for them to generate revenue. So obviously it's natural that they would want to reward my efforts, which I was grateful for. I'm now over 5 million views. I've stopped keeping an eye on that. But the key takeaway here is local search is massive, and it's a very important area that all businesses and Toastmaster clubs should be focusing their efforts on. So coming to the point of why doesn't your social media efforts result too much? And I shared the post earlier on of how the social media posts appear, right, on Facebook. Now, what I want to do is take you away for a moment onto, should we say, a little journey. Let's pretend we're back in college. You and I are best friends, and we go out clubbing because it's the thing to do, or disco, depending on what era you were born in. Okay, so we're out in town, and I walk up to a lady. I start talking about myself, like young guys do, telling her all about my successes, my dreams, my visions, what I'm passionate about, what I'm really good about. You know, the boasty things that young guys do to try and impress women. You know, I start getting desperate, maybe buying them a round of drinks, the most expensive drinks, showing off, and you're nodding your head, feeling very, very sympathetic from me. And at the end of the night, nothing's happened. I go home dejected. Nothing worked for me. Well, you're a good friend. You don't give up on me. The following week, we go out again. And this time, there's something different. I seem to be getting some engagement. I seem to be getting some attention from the ladies. You know, the conversations change. I'm asking them questions. I'm asking them, where are they from? What are they passionate about? What are they interested in? What do they like doing? What are their hobbies? Not an interrogation. I'm sure some of you ladies might have experienced that on the dating scene, but you get my point. There is a conversation happening here. And at the end of the night, you see me disappear. Now, depending on what part of London you're from, you might have even said, Naz has pulled. And that is what I'm talking about. Push and pull marketing. That's what the difference was. Push and pull marketing. Push and pull communication. You're either projecting your message or you're pulling people in. This social media post here, this is a push. And typically in push, there is a dictation. In pull, there's a discussion. In push, you'll tell, sell, or yell, as is happening here. There's nothing wrong with this type of content. I'm just making you aware of the differences. Pull, you coach the conversation and you coach the sale. So pull marketing happens on Google, because when people want to buy something, they will go onto a platform where they want to find out answers. And they will type those questions in and get their answers on Google. And that's where conversations are happening. Sometimes conversations do happen on Facebook when you'll see engagement in the post, but the real space for push and pull is Google. So how does this work? Well, what we have seen here is the marketing funnel. Whenever we want something as human beings, it's because of a desire. We have to have a desire for something. For example, a caveman is hungry, their belly's rumbling, and they decide to leave the cave. And they come across some berries, and they're interested, and they're considering whether they should eat those or not. They may even discuss it with their peers, sample, and if they eat and they survive, they might tell someone else about it. Word of mouth comes back up to awareness. Or maybe in this recent times, you've done some development work on your property, or you've bought something for yourself. Where did your journey start? Did you go onto Google? Did you type in what you were looking for? Did you find something of an interest? Start comparing the different options, reading the reviews, narrow down, and then you got it. Or possibly, this is one I'm hoping you can all relate to. Either yourself or someone you know was interested in improving their communication skills. They acknowledged that they needed to do something to improve those skills. So they built an awareness. They started looking for options, and they found your club. They considered yourselves, they spoke to you, and they came in as a guest or attended a webinar. You sent them the proposal, which is really a conversation in the world of Toastmasters, and they signed up. This is the marketing funnel. This is the journey people take, and this is a really powerful way to structure your content, including on social media. You can have awareness content, interest content, consideration content, and acquisition content. And this is how you pull people in. In the world of property, you'll hear people talking about an interested buyer, an invested buyer. You cannot sell to people who are not interested. But someone who's already on the journey, you can appear and bring them to you. So that's the marketing funnel. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is through SEO. So here is a survey from one of the leading marketing organizations in 2020. And their survey picked out that search engine optimization is the second most powerful way to generate leads and get a return on investment. And for consideration, 60% of marketers say SEO is the highest quality of leads. And this is from HubSpot. And again, the links are available here. So the world of SEO, I've been speaking about, search engine optimization, is quite a complex world. There's a lot of technical jargon to do. And what SEO simply means is making your website simple to understand, easy to find and read for a search engine, because there are over 5 billion searches happening every single day. So search engines need to spend a lot of computational power and resources to find your website page or your club page or your business page. So the easier you can make it for them, the more trustworthy you can make your website and content, the more likely they will put you higher up on Google. And then there are other factors such as relevancy and authority and trust and all these things coming in here. But all of this can be a bit of a minefield. So what do you do? Well, fortunately for us, there is an easy way. I always look for the easier way. And I always remember this gentleman here, Bill Gates. And he says, I choose a lazy person to do a hard job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. So there must be an easy way to do some kind of an SEO for your club or for your business, right? Well, yes, there is. And it's Google My Business. We're now going to move on to a demonstration of how we set up a Google My Business listing. And there are key bits of information that we will need, which is here. And we will come back to this slide later on. And if you want to, you can take a picture. But as I've said, we will come back to it later on. So I'm going to stop sharing my slide now, and I'm going to move over to sharing my screen whilst we go live. Okay. Here we are. So if somebody was to recommend Speakers of Croydon, they will find us on the right-hand side. We own the right side of Google for our brand. That's the club that I'm the Vice President of Public Relations for. And there's a number of reviews, and we have 5 stars. So that word of mouth recommendation doesn't necessarily trust you or our club yet, but there's a high level of trust because they've come as a recommendation, and their trust increases before they even come to our website or our platform. And you can see the first straight at the top there, we're position 1. If someone searches for Toastmasters Croydon, we are position 1. If someone searches for Croydon Toastmasters, again, our club is position 1. None of this existed before. And as a result of doing this, this is a factor behind our website and our club getting more inquiries from prospective guests and potentially members. So Pearly Speakers, who've kindly volunteered to be part of this demo, do not have a business listing. They do not own the right-hand side of Google for their brand name. When someone does a recommendation, first thing they'll see is a Toastmasters URL, and they will be taken to here. So what can we do for Pearly Speakers? And what would you be doing if your club or your business does not have a Google business listing? Well, the first thing you do is make sure you have a Google account. You need to have a Google account to register for a Google business. There are ways to do it without, but for expediency, we're just going to move on with this process. So we type in Google My Business. And here we are. We've found Google owns the right side of Google for their brand query. And you can click on the ad, or you can click over here. And I'm just going in to see the Google My Business page. And I'm assuming you're logged into your account on Google, and you'll click sign in. And you'll see the page to find your business. I always recommend you do this first, just in case there is a historical version of your club, because it's not as if you've never come in as a VPPR and you've not found duplicates, right? Often you'll find duplicate information. So let's have a look for Pearly Speakers. Pearly Speakers. And nothing exists there. But if I did Speakers of Croydon, you'll see it's already in the Google Business Directory. So Pearly Speakers. Here we are, Pearly Speakers. We're then taken to our business name and our category. Now, this is an important one, and there are a number of categories you can use. The most common ones I would recommend for the world of Toastmasters is non-profit organization, club, and some clubs I've seen have also used the category training center. I feel that one's a bit hit and miss because your purpose is not to be a training center, and you don't own the physical building generally. You might be a chartered club, or running for charter, you might be a business club, but usually I would imagine the premises you're in belongs to someone else. So ultimately, for me, Toastmasters is a not-for-profit organization who has an academy that teaches public speaking, communication, and leadership skills. So for me, I go for a non-profit organization. Yes, it is American spelling, so you'll see the Z instead of an S there. That's fine. So we've got our name, Pearly Speakers. We've got our business category. We go next. And over here, you'll see, do you want to add a location customers can visit, like a store or an office? You can have a business listing without a physical premises. So for example, if you run your business from home and you don't want people to see your address and they don't visit you, then you'd put no. But over here, as Pearly Speakers does accommodate guests, and hopefully we'll be doing so once we come off Zoom, I'm going to choose yes. And then we'll need to put in the address. So we're in the UK. I just take the address from their business page here. So street address, postcode, put it there. Pearly Oaks Road. And I'm going to add line, so I can click this here. And you can add line multiple times if you have multiple entries. So for example, if you are maybe a club within a business and you need to add an additional line to say, you know, suite 2, suite 3, and so forth. Okay. There we go, next. And is this your business address? So let's have a look. 57 Pearly Oaks Road. 57 Pearly Oaks Road, CR2 ONX. Doesn't say 57 there, so what can we do? We can just Google. Right, it's Sanderstead Memorial Hall. So Google's matched the details we put in, and we're going to say, no, this is not us, because I don't want to conflict with Sanderstead's Memorial Hall's listing. Pearly Oaks is obviously having their events in the Memorial Hall. So we click next. And then you're taken to the map marker. So you'll just drag yourself to where you are. And I honestly don't know whether this is correct or not, but fortunately we can always move this later on. So once I've set up this listing, I'll give access to the VPPR for Pearly Speakers, and they can correct this. So for now, I'm just going to click next. Then the next question is, do you serve customers outside your location? For example, do you visit or deliver them? So if you had a florist business, a plumber business, so forth, yes, that's what I would click. If you had a work from home business and you don't visit, well, sorry, you don't allow people into your home, remember that option we spoke about, but you do go and visit your clients, then you would click yes, I also serve them outside my location. And then you'd be able to put the locations that you serve. So for example, we can put over here, London, Manchester, New York, and so forth. But obviously this is not going to be the case for us. We only really have members coming into the club, right? And on Zoom. So I've chosen no. And then there needs to be a verification process. Now, we don't need to put a telephone number in. And for privacy, I'm not going to put a telephone number in. The club does not have a website. So what you can do is you can put your Facebook business page if you have one. And I would recommend that over your Toastmasters portal, because only members will have login details, right? But really, if you want to be in a position where you truly dominate, you should have a website for your club as well. Because when someone goes onto Facebook, there is competition, people get distracted. As a VPPR, as a business owner, you want the leads, you want the inquiries, you want the guests to come to you. So you want to take them in an environment where there is no competition, there is no other distractions, and that would only happen when they are on your website on Facebook, there are distractions. So at this stage, I'm going to say, I don't need a website. Okay, there is an option to get a free website based on the information you put in. And this is a very basic website created by Google. And personally, for me, it's terrible. And if ever you do move on to having a website later on, it creates a nightmare because there's a lot of duplicate information created by Google. And we've had nightmares as agencies fixing this for our clients. So I'm going to click on, I don't need a website. This part here is for Google to send you alerts. And there's no harm in doing that, especially if you have no experience with Google My Business. So I'm going to select yes. Okay, and that will be sent to the email address if Google's behaving. All right, I'm going to select no because it's not behaving. Now, unfortunately, Google is not allowing us to proceed. A multi-billion-dollar company, and they're not. They're having technical issues. That is not something I expected. Let's try this again. Okay, well, I can't go further with this, but I'm gonna tell you what happens anyway. So the next screen after this would be them asking you to verify your details because they'll need to send a postcard to your business. So I'll stop the screen share. Yeah, they'll need to send a postcard to your business, to your address with a PIN number. It'll be a 4-digit PIN, maybe a 5-digit PIN. And when you sign back into your Google My Business and further down the line, and you put that PIN in, after that, you will see your business listing start appearing publicly. Before that, you won't be able to proceed. The reason for this is to prevent fraudulent listings being created, for one, and to stop competitors creating listings for you and trying to poach your business by changing the telephone number and website and so forth. So also a term of fraudulence and spam as well, of course. Now, once your business listing has been created, you will have a back end, and I'm going to go into the back end for Speakers of Croydon now to show you what it would look like. Bear me one moment. I just need to go through some security. Yeah. I'm seeing some questions coming up. Please save the questions. Please make a note of the questions, and please do save the questions because we will be answering questions shortly. We will have a Q&A session. Okay. Okay, so you've created your Google business and it will look like this. Well, not straight away because obviously you need to get the data, but once you've during the stage of creating your business listing, it will ask you to add pictures and images. And it will ask you to add a website, as I mentioned, and to put some posts on there should you wish to do so. So you can always amend them later on, and you can always amend your business details and information such as your categories here. And you can always add additional categories as well. So we've put our club down as a non-profit organization, and I can put an additional category here now as a club, which I shall do so, and I'll apply that. You can put in business hours and dates. So we have our meetings on Tuesdays from 7:30 till 9:30. I've put it down 7:15 to 9:30 p.m. You can put in more hours. We've got a telephone number for members to ring, sorry, guests to ring as well. And I've created a handle for us at Toastmasters Croydon. So you just pick the pen and choose one. And there are no real benefits for this at this stage. There is a belief that it might help with optimization. Putting your website link, product. So if you had an e-commerce or a physical store, you would add your products here, and you can add additional features from the business. So for example, if you are female-led, to help to create more awareness and support for female-led businesses. In America, they have an option to say Black-owned, because they want to create more support for Black-owned businesses. If you have some default options for accessibility and so forth as well, that you can see. You'll need to add a description as well. So had Google Business been working, what I would have done is I would have taken information from Pearly Speakers page here, and I would have added that to the description, and I would have just done a search on Google for Pearly Speakers and onto images, and I would have looked for images that are available which belong to Pearly Speakers that have been put on their social media accounts, and that's what I would recommend you would do to populate your Google Business listing with, and of course when you open. So name, address, phone number, website link, description, and photos. These are the important ones. Once you've done that, you click on reviews, and you can start seeing reviews. But you do want to encourage getting reviews as well. And one of the ways to do this is to create a short link. Now, I'm not seeing this option because I already have created a short link. Hopefully, further down the line, I can add a slide to present a short link. And but really, you'll see an option here to create a short link, and it's basically you will message that to people and ask them to give you a testimonial, give you a review. So when they go and search for your business, they'll see your listing, such as, you'll see all those lovely reviews there. Now, once you get the reviews, it's also really good practice to reply to the reviews as well. So, and very fortunately, we can see who's replied and what we've not replied to yet. So put my hands up, there are a couple of reviews I need to reply to. And it's really important to reply to the reviews as well, because it just creates a really good impression. People do read reviews, right? And if you've got lots and lots of reviews, Google's picking up these key terms, and the user is reading them, and they get to a point it becomes a no-brainer, and they're just going to go into your business listing. I'm now going to stop the screen sharing because we have time for questions. And I can see there's some questions coming in already.
Yes, thank you very much, Naz, for your very nicely paced, very clear explanation on how to set up Google My Business and how we can use it, and how it's going to be a benefit for all of our clubs to be making sure that they set up a Google My Business listing if they don't already have one, and also your top tips to just go back and review your Google My Business listing if you already have one, and just to go back and check all of those different sections, maybe go and have a look at the pictures that you have uploaded already. Can these be updated? And also to maybe have a bit of a think about who you can be asking, proactively asking to build up your reviews. But we do have some questions coming in already. So if you have a question, please type them into the Q&A. We're going to move through to the questions now. And Adrian is first up with a question. He's asking, for maps, what 3 words can you use to achieve a precise location?
Well, it's an interesting question. What 3 words is a separate business?
Mm-hmm.
For Google Maps, you need to put in your website address.
Okay.
Okay, and then you'll have the pin, which you will drag around. But typically for Google Maps, we normally use Google Maps when we're driving, right? We put the address in and Google will take us there. So yes, just make sure you've got your address and your postcode correct. There is a different engine called What3Words, which will actually set your location specifically to your longitude and then your latitude.
Okay. But for most of us, we can just put in the postcode and then obviously check, move that dot around if the postcode isn't quite correct.
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to follow up because Adrian has asked another question. Is there a charge for Google My Business?
No, there is no charge for Google My Business at all. It is a free service. They are toying with the idea to have a premium option in the future. I'm not sure whether I was allowed to disclose that, but I've done so now.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, they have been trialing that in the USA. And essentially those businesses would get a shield and say a verified business listing. But irrespective of that, you can still go with the free option, which I recommend all clubs to be doing so, and all businesses as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Naz. We have a few more questions. Well, a few more questions coming through. So keep getting the questions on the board. We have another question from Dan Gangai. It's a slightly wider question. Does DuckDuckGo search engine have a similar function? And if so, is it worth setting it up?
So, interesting question, Dan. I won't ask why you're using DuckDuckGo. I mean, for myself personally, although I have an alliance with Google, shall we say, and I do a lot of work with them, many of us do not want to share much of our confidential information. DuckDuckGo for me, whilst it has its privacy feature, it's not a very good search engine. Personally, for me, it doesn't provide a lot of relevant information, and specific to what you're looking for, to your question, no. The nearest alternative is Bing and Apple. They both have maps on their, Apple has its own maps engine and Bing has its own search engine and Apple Maps. Yahoo also uses Bing's search engine. And in case you're wondering who Bing is, that's Microsoft's search engine. There is an advanced feature. So once you've set up your Google business listing, you can sign up for a Bing account and you can pull the data over very, very easily. You just click a button. You can actually sign in with Google on Bing to transfer the data.
Okay.
We have a question from Patrick. Can Google My Business be considered a website? And can you put all the details about that you would put on a website onto the Google My Business page?
That's a subjective question because it's down to the individual's perspective of what a website is. For me, a website is genuine information platform, which will have information about what you offer. So in that respect, yes, but Google themselves would not consider Google My Business as a website. It's a directory listing. That's really what it is. So on Google, you've got the free map results, which are the directory results. To add to your question, Patrick, there is an option within Google My Business to create a website using the information you've entered, but the websites are not very good. And that website is free if you wanted it, but it's not worth the pain for me.
Okay. We've got a slightly broader question there from Chris Soprano. Can you expand a bit more on SEO? I guess it's maybe the how do you utilize SEO and what it means?
Sure. So Google, Bing, Microsoft Search Engine, Yahoo, Baidu, DuckDuckGo, all of these companies, what they have is they have pieces of software which run mathematical formulas. And these formulas are called algorithms. And the purpose of these algorithms is to interpret information and create a library. So whenever we go onto Google, we're not actually going onto the World Wide Web. We're accessing Google's library. And Google, through its mathematical rules, will decide who to present to you or me based on your query. And that is made easier by SEO. SEO, search engine optimization, is simply, as per its name, is optimizing your website for search engines and for people. Because there are over 5 billion searches happening per day, Google has a lot of computing resources to use up. So the easier you make it for a search engine to understand your website by having, no to less jargon, fast loading websites, simple and clean content, such as a title structure, so a heading, a subheading, sufficient content within the body. By the body, I mean the core section of the page. I would say conservatively 250 words. Google does not see pictures or videos in great detail, it cannot interpret that, but it does read content. Like a human being, it reads left to right, top to bottom. So your most important content needs to be at the top and your least will be at the bottom. And bear in mind what I said about pictures and videos not being seen, you want to be mindful that the top of your website is not stuffed with lots of images, because you're forcing Google to use so much of its computing power before it actually starts to read something they can understand.
That's an interesting top tip. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Trudy's asked a really valuable question here, particularly at this time of year. She says, when the VPPR position changes in July, how easy is it to switch over the control of Google My Business to the new VPPR coming in?
It's very, very easy to do, Trudy. I'm really happy you asked that question. What you saw me doing for Pearly Speakers earlier on was I was setting up a Google, I had a Google account. So I'm going to share my screen again very, very briefly. I recommend all clubs, and I'm happy to, if you put your email addresses or request that I will share this template with you later on. But what I recommend all clubs to be doing is having a spreadsheet like this. Now, when I came in as the VPPR Speakers of Croydon, it was a nightmare for me. I have to go back to, I would say, 10 years in history to find all the different contact details. And I would suggest you having a spreadsheet with all the platforms, login details, usernames, and passwords, and use this as part of your continuity plan to hand over to your future VPPRs. And as long as the username, the password, obviously there's no password here for privacy, as long as that's in there, the future VPPR should be able to take over. I'm happy to share this spreadsheet template if anybody would like. So
Naz, can you just share that spreadsheet again for us 1 second? Because what we could see was the PowerPoint presentation, one of the slides from the presentation.
Okay, apologies.
No worries.
There we are. Can you see that?
I just think this will be, I think this will be really valuable and useful.
Sure. So I set up a VPPR group last year. So anyone who's a member in that VPPR group, that template is in there. So I've put down your Google My Business, your website, and what you'd put in is the login page. So if you had a WordPress website, it might be website name /WP-admin, username, password. Now on some platforms, there'll be a mobile phone verification. So as and when the VPPR changes, you should update that telephone number. And this is when you log in, it sends a PIN via text to that. Sometimes you'll need a backup email address, and sometimes there'll be security answers and questions. And of course, any notes that you may have as well, that can be added there. So for example, if you had a Twitter account, you can add Twitter, we can add Facebook, and you can have the handles here as well. And for any other platforms you have, and for anything that's been removed as well. I strongly recommend having this documentation because I've spoken to so many clubs who've lost access, they've lost accounts. Also, this document should not solely be held by the VPPR. The club president should have access to it. And as per Toastmasters guidelines, the club secretary should have access to it.
That's excellent. That's some really good information there, certainly in terms of handover between the outgoing VPPR and the incoming VPPR. I think what I'm hearing at the moment is the importance. It's not only the SEO and also setting it up as part of Google My Business, but also the importance of having a well-structured website. So if there is a club, for example, that perhaps doesn't have a website, would you be able to just give us some succinct steps in terms of what it is that they should be prioritizing? Is it so they can get and really optimize their path towards
Sure.
guests? Effectively.
So we are very fortunate in the world of Toastmasters that Speakers of Croydon, sorry, not Speakers of Croydon, Toastmasters International has created brand guidelines, and they've also given us a wealth of information to use on our websites. So at the present moment, I am working on, let me see if I can bring this up. Bear me a second, and I can't dig the information out now, but later on at the end, I'll put in the links where members can access that information. But specific to your question, human beings are, most of us are visual. So you want to have some good images showing people interacting, enjoying themselves, having fun, because that will put them at ease. You've got to remember, people who are on the journey of public speaking and communications usually have some nerves and fear around that. So you want to have some images which settle that person. You want to have testimonials, because, you know, although we optimize for Google, we also have to optimize for the user, because we want them to transact with us. We want them to get in touch with us. So testimonials are such as showing proof of the service that you provide, helping people develop in the journey helps. On your Google My Business listing and on your website, what you should be having is, here we are. Let me just put this in here. I'm going to, please get your cameras out to take a picture of this. I'm not sure which screen you're seeing. Let me try that. Yes, here we are. Hopefully you're seeing one of my slides.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so for your, on your Google My Business listing, you have all these contact details and information. And what Google wants to see is that is consistent with your website. So on the left-hand side, you know, we call this the NAP, name, address, phone number in your website. That information needs to be consistent with your business listing. I mentioned the categories earlier on, and these are the categories. And you're welcome to take a picture of this. And by the way, when you sign up, Google will ask you to advertise, but you can ignore that. So name, address, phone number is really, really important, because Google correlates that with the business listing to the website. Hopefully you've all taken a picture of that. Have a contact form on your website, because human beings are lazy. It's just inherent in our nature, because, you know, our brains run on autopilot to use the least amount of effort possible. So have a form on there. Don't make them click on a page to go and contact. Have a form on every single page. Have a telephone number on there. And usually with most websites, you should be able to have a functionality where someone clicks on the phone number, it comes up straight away on the phone dialer as well. So make it as easy for them as possible. Also speak about the benefits that you provide. It's just like an elevator pitch. What is it that you do? How long have you been doing for it? How do you help people? Mention that on your homepage. Don't make them dig around for that. Hopefully that answers the question.
Really, absolutely, very comprehensive answer. Thank you. Dan Gangai, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. He asks a question. He says, our club is called Wessex Speakers, and it is presently used as a Google My Business listing name. We're based in Winchester in Hampshire. Given that you said that local search is important to target, should we change our listing to be Wessex Speakers of Winchester? I think you've done that deliberately, Dan, so that I can get my teeth in properly.
Right, very good question, Dan. You can do that should you wish. It will definitely help you with the local search. But here's the but. As per Google's guidelines, your business listing should be per your business name. So ultimately, later on, you might find that your efforts are wasted because your business listing is renamed by Google or one of their cronies. Sorry, lackeys.
Thank you for that. I've got a couple of points over images that I'd just like to raise.
Yeah.
One is using images of your club members, making sure that you have permission to use those images of those people, and that to try to keep your images current so that you don't have images of people from, you know, 5 or 6 years ago. They may have given permission at the time, but is that relevant? Are they still happy to have their pictures on your website now? So refresh the pictures, but make sure you have permission. And also, Diane Richardson has put a note to remind us all to make sure that we don't use Google as an image library, and to make sure that we really pay attention to the copyright regulations around what images that we are using. And she's put in the chat a couple of websites where you can go and you can get copyright-free images such as Unsplash, Pixabay. I mean, there are plenty of them, but to just make sure that any images that go on your website, you do have permission to use those images. So thank you, Diane, for reminding us of that point.
Yep. And we have an interesting question from Patrick Barron here. It says, as we are getting more and more members online from other countries, how does it work with the precise location you're talking about?
Good question. So if you recall earlier on in my slides, I showed someone had searched for public speaking, not specifically for Croydon, not specifically for Toastmasters. That somebody out there, somewhere in the world, just typed in public speaking, and they found our business listing, and they found our website and contacted us there that way. Google local really is for local, and Google does look at the individual's behavior. So maybe that person was searching for florists, or businesses in that part of the country, and Google's just continuing giving them biased results based on their experience, and our listing appeared. I would recommend all clubs to keep a spreadsheet of how they find their members, and ask the members, what engine or what platform did you use? Because the magic is in the details. When you start tracking all those metrics, then you can find out what's the most successful parts of your lead generation, and you can focus more effort on that.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is an important point, because at the moment, just to cite an example, our current reigning division champion for humorous speech and table topics lives in India. So, yeah, it is certainly very topical.
I think we've got time to squeeze in a couple more questions.
Yep.
Going back to what you were saying about passwords, Naz, and the spreadsheet, Adrian has asked, would you recommend changing passwords, security questions, etc., every time, every new year, or when the new committee takes office?
Yes, I'd recommend refreshing everything every year, without a shadow of a doubt. I've experienced some clubs who've not had any changes for over a decade. And imagine if you've got a backup email address which belongs to a member. Unfortunately, with Toastmasters, Speakers of Croydon, we had multiple website addresses, and one of those addresses belonged to someone who's passed away. So there was a nightmare getting access and trying to retrieve that.
Okay, good tips.
Yeah. Also, one thing I've experienced with some clubs is their websites expiring, because the domain registration and the hosting was under the former member's name, and it's not been passed on. So you should have that under the club name preferably, and the club should be paying the invoices instead of members paying the invoices, because if they disappear, all that time and energy you've put into creating a website may be lost, as some clubs have experienced. We at Speakers of Croydon had a bit of a challenge getting our website back. I know many clubs use WordPress. I run a marketing agency, so because I'm a member of Speakers of Croydon, they've got a very nominal annual hosting plan for me. So if you're using WordPress and you want to see if you can save your club some money, I think we saved about £120 in year one. You can contact me on that as well. I'm happy to extend the same offer to other Toastmasters clubs as well, or anyone else turning up to this.
Okay, I think we'll take it as the last question. It's more of a query, if anything. Do you use Google Workplace to solve password issues?
No, we don't, Chris. Don't, as a non-for-profit organization, we don't really want to be spending any extra money on things like Google Workplace and Google admin accounts, where you'd have to pay for every single user.
Excellent. Good. Well, it's well. Thank you for that. Thank you, Isla. I think this is we will need to wrap this up. Well, thank you very much, Naz, for this session, and thank you very much for teaching us how to pull without being pushy, and that's certainly has been very helpful today. And I think the as far as this webinar goes, I mean, this webinar is being recorded and it will be shared, because with all the people who have registered for this webinar, we've got an excellent attendance today. We've got nearly 40 attendees on this webinar live, and more have registered as well. So that's that's very promising in terms of sharing the information, and in terms of sharing, I mean, this has really been the feature this year in terms of the Division H, because we've not only have we been sharing within the division, it's also across other divisions within District 91, and we really do believe that knowledge is important, and sharing it is even more important, because together we are stronger, and it's a it is quite an important thing to do, and it's also important to be part of, because by sharing we also learn more. And I think we've done this this morning in terms of understanding how this whole process works. And certainly in my opinion, I think this is a game changer in terms of within the Toastmasters arena, in terms of how we market our clubs, and not only that, but also in our personal space as well. So whatever business or enterprise or anything or any activity that we are looking to undertake with an online reference to any of it, this approach certainly will be of help. So thank you very much for your input today, Naz, and also in terms of organizing this webinar. I mean, it takes a few people, it takes a lot of effort, and Isla and the team, including Claire, is still part of the division team, even though she's still quite busy these days. And it's been, and thank you very much for all the effort that's gone through this in terms of supporting the event and making it all happen. And really, what we're referring to here is the very basis as to why success came to Division H this year, because it was really built on these foundations, and for this I'm very grateful. And yes, so thank you very much for all your participation, for all the information, and I think we are better in terms of what we've learned today, and let's keep on going, because together we're stronger. Thank you.